value in when we come to sell them.
But before that can go ahead, planning permission has to be obtained for the demolition and build. Although there is a new development opposite, it's not always a foregone conclusion that permission will be granted.
Well, the worst case scenario would be that the planning department of Rustorm will say no, in which case we've got a house which we've then reinstate, update it, put it back on the market.
We'll make 100 grand, wouldn't we?
We would
£100,000 probably.
Certainly if it was renovated as an ordinary house, ordinary residence, in this size of garden, £500,000.
Yeah.
So they win either way. Planning permission granted, new build. Planning permission denied, refurbish at a profit. With plans for 14 flats and prices ranging from £125,000 to £150,000 each, the return on this site could be very high. So, with that sort of enticement, sadly, that can only mean curtains for this property.
Well, it's always quite upsetting when you think about a grand old house like this being knocked down. But I suppose what David and Andy are doing is providing 12 or 14 homes as opposed to one in an area where that is very much needed. Still, there's a lot of hoops for them to jump through before they get to that point. You can find out how they get on later in the show.
Earlier, I was in St Austell to meet property developing team David and Andy. They bought this period house at auction for $376,000, and despite its charm and character, were going to demolish it. They'd planned to build 14 one- and two-bedroom apartments on the plot. David was looking forward to the challenges ahead.
Every site is a challenge. Battling with local authorities and sorting out the affordable housing and having the usual headaches that you do with bureaucracy, great.
David seemed to relish the struggles involved in getting a development built. We returned 13 months later to find out if his enthusiasm was still strong and how the project had progressed. Well, the house is still there. The garden has been cleared. But as the windows are boarded and some of the outbuildings look worse for wear, it seems as if nothing much has happened here in the past year. But don't be fooled, because a lot's been going on behind the scenes.
It's taken about 6 to 7 months to go through the planning process. Clearly we had to instruct all the lawyers, architects, surveyors, you name it, and we've really gone through the whole process. And the good news is we did manage to achieve a detailed consent.
And that consent was helped in no small way by a bit of hardboard, polystyrene and some toy cars. Well, it may not be Tracy Island, but it's certainly helped David get the message across.
The reason for the model is that we needed to demonstrate to the planning committee that we were not going to produce something that was an excessive scale and was not out of keeping with other houses. You'll note that the ridge height of this building here is the same as this building here, which is solves what was an overriding concern for the planners. What we've done is we've reduced the levels down here and been able to then build into the ground and then retain the ground up there in its current form.
Models like this are an invaluable aid for selling a development. They don't just help the planners, but also the locals, who can see how the property will fit into the area. It's also a handy tool for Andy.
You can do as many three-dimensional drawings, fly-throughs, walkthroughs, whatever you want to call them, but to actually see something physically there where people can point a finger at a window and say, that's what I'll be looking out of, that's what I'll see, it makes it so much easier for us, really.
The ground floor windows are boarded, so the downstairs rooms are shrouded in darkness, and it definitely looks like the property is on its last legs. With the house's days numbered, do Andy and David still feel that the garden is an integral part of the property's appeal?
Where we are at the moment, this is going to be a car parking area. There will be parking on either side, with an entrance coming in down through here. The reason for repositioning the entrance is because of a highways issue with a fairly busy road across there, so it makes it much safer for everybody concerned to have drive up the centre, parking either side, and then landscaped areas, keeping all the boundary treatments we've got at the moment. So all the trees that are here will stay, because they're obviously a very important feature to us as developers.
They hope the project will start at the end of 2009 and be completed in 2010. But why wait until then, I hear you ask? Well, delaying the build means they won't be creating competition for their other projects. But once complete, and with several apartments ranging in cost from $113,000 to $145,000, they estimate the finished development will be worth $1.8 million. All that from a house which cost them $376,000. But will the eventual build prove a hit with the buyers? What do two local estate agents think of David and Andy's plans?
Looking at the proposal, having seen the designs, it looks an exciting scheme for either themselves to take on the development, or actually, if they wish to sell it on. But the scheme of 14 flats looks absolutely fantastic.
I think the development's a very good idea. It's on a very large site on the probably favoured western side of St Austell, where there's a shortage, I'll say, of apartments. The model that we've seen, it looks like they've left a nice garden area and well stocked, so it's not going to look too sparse on the outside, and there's a fair bit of parking, and it's going to sit nicely amongst the other properties rather than just looking like a brand new edifice which sticks out like a sore thumb.
So what do the agents expect the cost of the apartments to be?
2-bedroom apartments are likely to fetch probably 120, I would have thought, in this market, with the 1-bedrooms fetching probably closer to 1.5, 110 possibly.
A 2-bedroom in this development, I would say at the moment you're looking for around 130 or 135. The 1-bedroom one's probably 115, something like that, 120.
I'm very pleased with that. Yeah, we're really, really pleased. If we can achieve those figures, we've got a project that's a goer without any shadow of a doubt.
With next year's diary full and the signs looking good for the redevelopment of this plot, the company seems to be going from strength to strength. The success of this is down to David's philosophy of property development.
Do the job properly, don't skimp, use professionals, and try your utmost to do your best for the project. And if you can put the best that you can afford into it and not get too personal, you'll be successful.